Ta-da! Welcome to Josef's Hi-Fi in video number 12, which is all about the test tracks that I like to use when I'm setting up audio, whether it be on hi-fi setup for a friend or indeed for a car audio setup or someone's home theater or multimedia or what have you. Again, I'd like to try and keep this video quick and short. There's a few tracks, so I'm going to do my best in them, and I'd like to straight away apologise from the get-go about this. I tried so hard to try and script this or what have you. It's not going to happen. The only way I'm going to be able to do this is to read off the notes, because I made a few key things and I'd hate to miss something in this, so bear with me on that one. Again, welcome to the channel if you've never seen my videos before regarding the hi-fi. Indeed, it's a channel where you don't have to subscribe, as some people like to say. You don't need to follow, likes, any of that stuff. It's just some information, just you can take it or leave it at your pleasure. So needless to say, tracks that I like to use. Now, there's plenty out there, there's no doubt about it, and often we always seem to come back to the same types of tracks all the time. I don't really like not speaking directly to the camera. I know when I'm watching videos and people are just blah, 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 looking at the paperwork, it's a little bit howdy-doody. Unfortunately, that's how this is going to be. At the same time, the description on each track is reasonably brief. I'll also throw up the album artwork and the like, and for the usual reasons, I can't necessarily just blast the tracks I'd like, but we'll do what we can do. Anyway, so I use the word test track, and we used to use the expression test tapes or CDs. This is separate from any other reference stuff we'll usually carry with us any more than white and pink noise generation and the alike for getting calibrations right. This is just for that tonal musical quality that I'm generally looking for in a setup, and things that I'm looking for. A lot of these songs aren't my favourite songs by all means at all, not even from those particular artists, or even favourite artists, so I'll be clear quite there. But for the most part, it's just a bit of a snapshot in soundscapes and things. I'm just trying to find in sound to get that overall tonal quality to make it just sound good. So what we'll do, we'll kick the list right off, and it goes without hesitation. And I use the word test CD and tapes. By all means, it's playlists these days. I can't always be lugging reference quality records with me and all the rest. But these are just general tracks that obviously we can obtain YouTubes and on your streaming services and all the rest. To the highest ability we can get there. And generally the characteristics that I'm looking for are mostly the same in that. Because when we're starting to go into top levels, it's a whole different game, and we're having fun here. I hope so. Number one track, every single time there's a new setup, I don't care what it is. Someone's got a new soundbar, someone's got a new portable speaker, new hi-fi, I don't care what it is. First song all the time is Jimi Hendrix, Fire. Alright, now dig this baby, because it all happens in that first 6 to 12 seconds of the track. It's the drums, it's the opening of the track. A good system will deliver a thump and the snap required on this. Weaker systems just make it feel flat and lifeless. Almost like the mono pressings of stuff from the 40s and the 50s that did not capture some of the amazing lows. But it was here, and a great set of speakers will make the mix sound like the experience. Are there in the room with you as Mitch stabs you in the heart with an attack on those drums you'll never forget. And it's purely something else, because everyone loves to get that nice big low end happening in a system and all the rest of it. And it's sort of a situation that certainly back then when this was recorded, big speakers were there. The big sound did exist, and perhaps some of the recording techniques aren't as digital and on par as they are now, but it was still there. And certainly obviously when musicians had the big instruments, not everyone had big speakers to recreate the sound, but that's something that's really clear. But we'll talk about later in another one. So let's move on next to number 2, Under the Influence, the Chemical Brothers, a song that introduces a short frequency sweep at the beginning as it collides with the low end, and there's a lot happening. 3-way speakers and or systems featuring a sub will ensure your crossover is set on an even slope. Otherwise, this will sound wrong and you may as well not continue listening. Not a favourite track of mine, but can appreciate the offerings we hear through it. The sweep appears early so it can skip to the next one just to sort of quickly find that. It can be just a little bit muddled, but it is interesting because anytime you're running any sort of frequency sweep, which is always an interesting thing to do. Again, I ran them in this room when we built it and were setting it up because I was trying to find rattles in the windows, the fireplace, doors, light fixtures. I'm trying to find that. If there's going to be vibration, let's get that dealt with from the get-go. But here, it's not this big extended sort of sweep. It's just a quick sort of woo, and down we go. But in a really quick way that you can sort of spot things that might not sound right. And I say that about the sub because frequency cutoff is exceptionally important. I like to have that full spectrum of sound, not exaggerated bursts of high and low accordingly. Number 3, we move on to Private Investigation, Dire Straits. Again, we want some time now to absorb this, if it's available, of course, to sit down and really go from start to finish. A song that tells a story much like its neighbouring track, Telegraph Road, on the album Money for Nothing. It's a very beautiful track with a special mention to that almost RoboCop, rainy New York back alley sound. Da-da-da-da. That the song is like theatre production in your head, and the soundscape is wide and rich. So detailed, in fact, while it's a great song, it was not until completion of this very hi-fi that I've done here that it has cemented a place in this list during what I would assume is the suspenseful shootout scene. Series, indeed, is not only appropriate piano and drum play, but a subsonic series of kabooms that sit on their own merit without bringing the rest of the track, or indeed the system, and or making the overall mix too saturated. It's marvellous, delicate, detailed, with just the right amount of firepower. Yes, indeed. So, if you're still with me, we'll carry on. Hopelessly Coping, Wilkinson featuring Thabo. Certainly one of my favourite drum and bass producers, but an outstanding musician away from the dance arena. And while drum and bass would have you think I'm talking about the lows, this time we focus on the lyric delivery and the body of the vocals and the highs. While I love Wilkinson, what I love about Wilkinson is that all his pieces are so polished and perfect. Just have a look at some of his videos. We're at Abbey Road Studios. It's the passion, and like a surgeon's scalpel, the precision is delivered every time, particularly in this track. It's the play between the art of silence and sound. No one juggles this quite like Wilkinson, so definitely check that track out. It's brilliant. Next, we're going to move on to an Australian one, obviously perhaps one that not everyone in the world's going to find, but by all means you'll find it on YouTube. Don't Want to Be With You, Don't Want to Be With Anyone But You, by Absent Friends. Wendy Matthews, who you may well know from other tracks, what doesn't she do? But The Day You Went Away and all the rest of it. Certainly more that sort of adult contemporary type of music, but pop mainstream. Look, it's just great. With Wendy Matthews on the vocals, that's a selling point in its own right. But with James Valentine bringing in the warmth with the saxophone, we have an Australian ensemble that delivers the most stunning and soulful piece to just enjoy a variety of instruments culminating in this stunning smooth groove. With strong vocals accompanied by backing vocals, you are sure to spot too much brightness or emphasis in the mid-range, especially those running a 3-way set of speakers, or indeed if you are running a 2-way with a sub-arrangement. The Spectrum Analyzer sees a good chunk of work happening around the mid to high and high to low. So the difference between the standard cheese and cracker 2-channel bookshelf arrangement versus quality floor standards will stick out like a sore thumb. And I get that even from a pair of studio monitors. Again, they're really tailored for the flat type of sound we're looking for. This is more that tonal sort of musical quality, and right there, like night and day, in a good way. Number 6, Emotions, Mariah Carey. Love her like me or dislike her like my wife. Happy wife, happy life. She is a diva. And so is Mariah Carey. And so is Mariah Carey. I wrote that too. I should stick to the notes. And so is Mariah Carey. Let's be honest, it's the vocal range. Squealing octaves above the rest. This would be the track that captures it all. While perhaps not personally my fave Mariah track, here is here she is, young, and the voice is still being discovered. But with the crew from CNC Music Factory in the production suite, the track is an electro soulful pop with the signature Mariah sound. As she hits the 2 kilohertz comfortably, you will know if those tweeters or horns might be a little high or low respectively. Jesu, Andrew Lloyd Webber, and Sarah Brightman, soprano highs tick. But apart from the onslaught of highs, the trick is the lows. It's the bassoon, an instrument that really needs the rest of the orchestra to become magical. However, just watch the opening theme to Rumpole of the Bailey to hear the bassoon in all its glory. But here in the track, it's the gentle warmth that is easily missing on any other system, on any other standard system. It's the richness that ensures the masterpiece to be enjoyed in all its glory and right to the end. I didn't mention that, but it is. I think I'll quickly just make a quick side mention to something like...
and what I can't think of saying is Us and Them,
Diamond,
Pink Floyd.
Pink Floyd.
I did get that bit wrong, sorry.
The saxophone. I better carry on, sorry, I'm blathering. Space Oddity. It's number 8, Space Oddity. David Bowie. Often skipped on many of these lists. This is an ensemble to really strip 2-channel stereo back to its basics. More than anything, it encompasses the balance from the effects of panning, audio, and hearing the layered instruments through left and right accordingly, including a track that splits a solo artist to the bias to the right channel, in my honest opinion, as opposed to the feeling of a band, where guitar is on the left, drums on the right, front person center stage. We all know it, we all love it. If there is something wrong, it won't take long hearing it with this track. Number 9, Smooth Operator, Sade. It's all in the mid-range. I'm not going to say any more there. It's one of those tracks that's just heavily done to death. But it is a great track, and it really is going to sound great for all those reasons. Number 10 is the Hilltop Hoods, Matter of Time. Magical. I was fortunate to be a part of the Hilltop Hoods in the early days, being from South Australia, in Adelaide at the time all of this was going. I was even working at the high school they were at as an IT administrator just as they'd finished, and all of this was all happening. They for the Hilltop Hoods, much support and love there. But this is a track that a lot of people don't actually have the album, and unless you've got some crazy bootleg and the rest, there aren't that many to be had, but you will find it on YouTube. It's a really well put together track for a crew who had not struck fame and fortune, but still delivered something incredibly raw. It's so good. It's a track that keeps you wanting to dig deeper with every listen, but I truthfully have no idea why. Have a listen. Number 11 is Strawberry Fields by the Beatles. The drums are mixed down into mono and sent to the right. They ran out of channels. There is so much, and it's the sounds you shouldn't be looking for are the ones you are searching for. On a good setup, there is so much to appreciate in this. I don't want to say it sounds different every time, but just that production, you just hear it more and more the more you can hear it, and really on a good setup, it's tapping onto every key frequency range. Oh, Ringo, I'm sorry you got stuck there onto the thing. It's not a bad thing, and of course we'll always have Thomas the Tank Engine to get more quality time out of. The next is track number 12, Faithless, Reverence. Limitless bass on a big system. No turbulence on the airflow. with a port, eyeballs shaking as a system that is equipped with an amplifier that can that even you can't handle. The melody draws you in for a journey of sonic bliss. Really a collaboration of instruments, both physical and digital, make for a track that would be an insult to anything that cannot reinforce the low end. And that is true. I can't think of how many times I've been in a car, all the rest. And car audio systems are a bit more challenging to those that do that, and much love for that, because you've also got to sound dead in the car anyway to try and create that, to be hearing it, even with the exaggerated bringing up the lows in with subwoofers and all the rest. But hearing this on a really, really good system, and I'm talking big speakers here. In fact, I'd like to even take subwoofers and put them aside, because I'm talking about big speakers, 12, 15, 18-inch drivers that can deliver that low end really, really smoothly, and with a well put together crossover is still not taking anything away from the rest of your mids and your highs. It's going to be an experience you're never going to forget. It's probably maybe a song for a lot of people that hasn't been on your hi-fi to-do list. Get that on there now, and it's quickly going to come together well. And I say it with amplification. There's nothing quite like, there's obviously a general sort of a rule here, any more than Ministry of Sound nightclub, that have this thing about the system even running at basically what they consider is the maximum level. The system is never at strain any more than about 40% of its capacity. And at the end of the day, that's something what I really appreciate with an amplifier that can deliver plenty of power, where I'll be honest, the system can be delivering more than 50% what it's capable of. I can't take anymore. In all honesty, I can't. The speakers can keep going probably a bit more. The amplifier can keep going a lot more. I definitely cannot. It's just, but in a good way. I'll take it and in a track like that, absorb every minute of it. It's fantastic. But let's be honest, turn it up all the time. It just sounds brilliant. And I don't mean loud as in it's terrible. I mean, it just is brilliant. Number 13, Firestarter, the Prodigy, and much, of course, rest in peace to all the artists that aren't with us anymore on this list and the rest of it. But, I mean, people may still be watching this video in years to come, and who knows who we've lost at this point. But Prodigy, Firestarter. Prodigy, they went into the studio with all its very finest in technology, and they still could not create that gnarly drum sound. So they just went back to the raw home studio version that was recorded. It's the drums, it really is. It's a Prodigy, a group who took everything we knew about music and instruments and pushed it to its limits, that gave way to electronic and a rock fusion as we know it. It has such energy. It has is something that keeps sounding better and better the bigger the system. Just check out the YouTube footage of their front of house audio and how the infra subs were used to bring up and down the energy. It's the Prodigy. Let's move on now to the next track, which is 14. And now my numbering has gone wrong because I didn't tap that in. But it's Tire Me, Rage Against the Machine. It's an onslaught of mids and highs and lows. A tough call between this and Israel's Sun by Silverchair. But this one pips out for the aggressive overdriven bass along with the fast drum movements on the upper side on a collision of Del Roche's vocals colliding with Tom Morello's strings. It's chaotic, it's fast paced, and the lows can become muddy quickly. In fact, I can't tell you how many times I've heard it get muddy quickly on people's systems. A track that is on par with usual hi-fi standards like Kickstart My Heart, Motley Crue, but I need something different. It's a clean track on the right system, an absolute trashy track on a stock standard system, and that's why it's a very quick go-to to sort of say, this is all dialed in wrong. Again, something where people who like to hear a lot of urban stuff and things like that often will generally have a bit of more of a bass push happening. This can really go quickly sour. So that's why I'm keen to put that there. So in which case we'll jump to what is now track 15. It's got to be a track by Dido, again, one part of Faithless. but Dido obviously went on for a solo career. And the track is Don't Believe in Love, Dido. A fast attack on a range of frequencies. Bigger speakers can often lose the plot in stabs hard at the bottom. And the low-end kick drum is one of the best mastered I have heard in a non-rock or electronic/urban track. Welcome surprise with sumptuous strings that refine this nicely to the vocals. I suppose special mention there. I'd also put to Touch Me by the Doors, the strings. Sometimes it's nice to hear them outside of the classical sort of environment. Number 15. 16 in which case. Breakfast of Sweethearts, Cold Chisel. A song that sees the bass guitar shine all the way through. It needs a big voice to keep this mix in check, and we have it right here with Jimi Barnesy as he's known here in Australia. It's a surprise entry for some, and a track that on a good system delivers and rewards those who have spent time in a half-decent setup. Note, Choir Girl is also a track I keep on the digital playlist just to check the gain on how a sub is in use on the lows. And at the point where on 2-channel, no worries, it should sound right. With a sub, this can get messy quickly and destroys a great song. Number 17, Raindance Maggie, The Peppers. As Dave Rat says, it's all about the cowbell. The fat splat on the drums is a legendary bass from Flea with articulate lyrics ensures a really good listen. It's a longer track, but it's cleanly mastered, and every single instrument is unique and distinct reverberation, echo, distortion, none of that anywhere on this track. No matter how far you keep turning the volume knob, a good set of speakers just keeps punching the sound out, and it does. Number 18, High Hopes, Pink Floyd. It's an onslaught across all frequencies, all at once, in a lavish production, and cements any Pink Floyd track, any Pink Floyd track for testing stereo. They are the masters. This is one of my favourite Floyd tracks that I have heard it enough times to know if it's sounding wrong. And I'm talking both on, obviously, the live one, from the Pulse production at Earls Court there, and or on the studio version. Number 19, it's Andrew Lloyd Webber. Yes, indeed, we revisit Webber again here. A Phantom of the Opera, the Overture. To be fair, there are some of other performances that may even top the original, but it's the complete orchestra in full flight overtime. Over time I hear it, I can dissect another instrument into an amazingly layered few minutes. What I love in this is that there are no vocals, which are outstanding as they are. It's nice just to appreciate a symphony orchestra using all the elements, from strings to woodwinds and everything else between. And that makes it all work as one. The sound should be rich, fulfilling, not overly loud, not bass or treble high, just an even sound, albeit it's coming from some 100 instruments with a
12/8 time signature.
Time signature. If you love Echoes by Pink Floyd, may have heard that in some part of my videos, you will click with this. Track down The Murdered, the last track on this album, is just as important as we once again hear every part of the ensemble, including vocals unleashing the final crescendo with every frequency on your analyzer dancing. It's a perfect finale. So that brings us now to number 20, and it's Nirvana Unplugged. It's the entire album. At this point, we're at a point where maybe we're somewhere we can really sit down and then just enjoy it. We don't have to quickly race through tracks trying to pinpoint things out. It's all about the room noise as opposed to a studio or indeed a live recording. We get some transparent sounds through the mics resonating with the venue nicely. I call it canned quietness. There is a lot of work to get it sounding good, and a crowd that are not coughing or making the backing track distracting like some live performances. Somber strings, the grainy strain in the voice, and the fact that even with the hot rods, Drum Grohl works the drum kit as if he were bashing out an anthem like Lithium, Rape Me, or School. It's the magic of hearing what you're not supposed to be hearing, and I think it's what makes it, the whole album, really great. Whether you love it or hate it, obviously it's got a place in the pop culture and the rock and roll Hall of Fame of things that are going to carry on this legacy. But just something there to, just an album that is one of those ones where we always talk about albums that it's sort of like start to finish fantastic, which we all can all disagree on many. I mean, there's always the common stuff like Pink Floyd, Dark Side of the Moon, where I can quickly come in with an album and say, personally, I think this cover to cover was the greatest album ever. We're not discussing that now. Special mentions, though, I'd just like to say have to be, so that pretty much rounds it up, but just some key mentions I just wanted to say were Alegria, Cirque du Soleil, probably one of the unofficial anthems of Montreal. This is an exceptional textured track, and it's in the vocals that we quickly separate from Francesca's legendary voice to that of the backing choir, often lost on other systems, particularly in a car where overall road noise can drown in a way additional bass reinforcement will dominate an otherwise beautifully layered track. Jorja Smith, Blue Lights, Rinse FM was where I first obviously heard this, pushing through the underground. Really nice stereo balance. Without a number, but Rufus, You Were Here, You Were Right, sorry. Heavy bass line, plenty of electronica, magic, synths, spatial stereo field, an onslaught of full frequency spectrum presented in a tremendously easy listening cosmic track that never seems to quite sound the same the second time around. Also want to make special mention to The Who, My Generation. It's that fat bass line and the towering guitar. Although I could say the same thing on Pinball Wizard. Still. Dazed Confused, Led Zeppelin, it's just all in that groove. And also an album that obviously isn't rated high on a lot of people's things, but I do want to just mention quickly Black Sabbath, Dying for Love, on the Cross Purposes album. Tony Martin was the front person, no Aussie on this one, but just that particular track, Dying for Love, it probably saying this because I like the track and I've heard it a lot, but really is clean, well put together, and will just sonically sound fantastic. Just one of those tracks when people say have a listen to this, whether you like the song or the artist or not, some tracks that just are wonderful. And that's pretty much just a little mix on what it is that I like to, as soon as there's something new to be heard, I like to grab that bunch of songs and just put them on. It's got something for everyone there. It's got some new, it's got some old. Of course, it's all going to be old by the time a lot of people are going to see this video, but at the time of making this in October 2020, here we are, and that's my little snapshot to that. The next video that will be coming up, I think I've got a few on in the moment with a few projects we're doing at the moment. I think we'll come back to, as I promised you, on the artwork. I want to just quickly wander around that artwork for you and talk about some of the names, particularly with the hardware and instruments and gear that's used that are synonymous with a lot of this. Thanks for watching, everyone. Enjoy the video. We'll see you in the next one. Toodles.